People are scared of Brexit. Genuine concerns about the implications. And it's not just the business community. There are 35,000 people cross the border every day to work or to study. We have an all-Ireland electricity market. There are people who have holiday homes on one side of the border or another. People who just freely couldn't tell you where the border is. The EU support that we get, the regulatory convergence across Ireland, all that we have by way of protections of our rights, the European Court of Justice, the Charter of Fundamental Rights, so that we can build upon that, the much needed Bill of Rights here for the North that was agreed in the Good Friday Agreement. All of those things are tied in with a relationship with the EU. All of that cannot be damaged because the people of England, mainly the people who voted for Brexit, people have talked about this as being, the conversation and the debates that was happening here, it was all about England. It was about the views and opinions of the English people, and they're entitled to it. And they voted to leave, and that should be respected. And I will be the first to stand over that should be respected. But so should the voice and the vote and the democratic outcome of the people here of the North in the context of the Good Friday Agreement. That is why the North is a special place.
I think it does, in many ways, it accelerates the conversation on Irish unity, because if I can put it like this, I, as a kind of a practicing politician, when I'd go into work on a Monday morning, it wasn't Uniting Ireland, it's fair to say, and it wasn't at the very top of my agenda, but you have to look at it in a much more evolutionary way now, and a lot of the North-South institutions that had been allowed to wither over the last 10 years, I think they hadn't really been used properly by the Assembly, are going to become very important. And I see the Good Friday Agreement not just as something that we have to protect in Brexit, but actually it has a lot of institutions that could be really, really useful. It has provisions for a border bank. It has sort of east-west relationships, a kind of a parliamentary assembly that could, discuss the issues pertaining to the two islands. And, it has structures that could be very, very useful in Brexit. So we should use it as a toolkit and not just, a kind of an ornament on the mantelpiece. So it in the one hand, it puts lots of challenges in, but the fact is, all of the challenges to Irish unity in terms of in people's hearts and minds that existed on the 22nd of June last year still exist. And a lot of people, the conversation about Irish unity for many people pragmatic people, say people who would be unionists but voted Remain. I'm not saying that they're suddenly United Irelanders, but they are people who are up for a pragmatic argument. And I think the more that it becomes about the practicalities of living and the less about kind of chest-thumping identity, that can be a positive thing for the debate on Irish unity.
First of all, I'd say to a young nationalist, there'll be absolutely no difference. You will still have all of the rights that you have at present. If you want to have an Irish passport, you can have it. If you want to travel freely across the border, you can do it. If you want to have ways of expressing your Irish identity, you can be able to do that. Leaving the EU is going to make absolutely no difference to all of those things which are important to you. They're not important to me as a unionist, but they're important to people as nationalists. I understand that. And one of the reasons why we have argued that the border should be as frictionless as possible is to ensure that that balance is not upset. And I believe that it is possible to do that. And already we have had commitments from the British government and the Irish government that the common travel area, the ability for people to travel freely across the border, their ability to have Irish passports, travel on Irish passports, and have all the rights as Irish citizens. If they wish to have those, they can have them. So, I think that's the first thing I would say. And the second thing is that, as far as the border issue is concerned, no one has said they want to put a border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. No one has even showed why there is any necessity to put a border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. The EU have said they don't want it. The Irish government has said they don't want it. The British government has said they don't want it. Unionists have said they don't want it. And, all of this has been stirred up by people who Well, first of all, they were hoping to get some political gain at previous elections over it and stir up nationalist fears. And secondly, they are trying to desperately find some argument to keep Britain in the single market and the customs union.
Because 20 years on from the Good Friday Agreement, we were beginning to learn how to be Northern Irish. You could be Irish, you could be British, or you could be both, or you could be all three of them you wanted to be. The problem with Brexit is that's now raised that concern.
Get more from the Open University. Check out the links on screen now.